With Valor VDC, and today I want to talk about something that's really near and dear to my heart. Revit on a Mac. I use my Mac. If you've watched my videos before, you may have noticed that there is a little Apple icon symbol up here on some of my videos because I move back and forth. And today I want to talk about how I make all this magic happen and what works best for me. Maybe not for you, but just for me. But before we get into this, please hit that subscribe button and like this video. So, as we're moving in, we're going to go to my Mac desktop. And what this is this shows my Mac. And the first way that I started using Revit on a Mac was through Parallels. Parallels is a pretty gnarly software. It actually will install Windows on your Mac, and it's an interpreter. I've been using it for probably close to 8 years now. And when I first started using it, like I said, it's an interpreter. So imagine going to China, but bringing, say, someone from, I don't know, El Salvador as your translator. And although you can get things done, it may not be done in the most efficient way. But over the years, Parallels has become better. Is it the best? No. But what it does allow me to do is work on my Mac when I'm away from the office. So I got 2 kids in travel hockey. I'm always going up and down the East Coast. Always got to bring my computer with me. Always working. So what it does, though, is it does allow you to access all of your apps. I actually have Windows 11 installed, and you can see I got all this fun stuff right here. I got all my apps and everything else. So Parallels does work nice, but like I said, you get a little hiccup. It generally takes a little bit of time. One thing I do want to point out is my MacBook is the top of the line MacBook. Currently that's available. I have 128 gigs of memory and I have a 4 gig hard drive. And the other thing about using Parallels is it uses a significant amount of battery life as shown here, using significant energy. So your 9-hour battery is probably going to be about a 4-hour battery if you're using Parallels, because it's actually running 2 separate operating systems on your Mac. When you get it, depending on what version you get, you can actually allocate how much memory you want Parallels to use when it's running the Windows programs versus the Mac. And that's what kind of sucks up a lot of your juice. But enough of that. You're here for Revit. We're going to go down here. We're going to open up a project that I did with VC Studios, and disclaimer now, I exclusively work for them on the CAD end. I don't do any CAD work for anyone else except for VC Studios. You can find us on LinkedIn, and if you have any projects. What this is an athletic center that we did at MTSU. And if I go to a 3D view, you'll see Revit working, the familiar Windows blue circle, and it's processing. Down here it's telling you how much it's doing. Remember, this project is probably about 3.5-4 gigs. So Revit is chewing through a lot of information, going through those interpreters as I was describing. So like I said, I use this when I travel. It's not my preferred way to work when I'm in the office, and I'll go over that in a minute. So this is still moving, a little slow, but it's a lot of information. Once we get into it, you'll see what we got going on here. So now I'm in a full 3D rendered view. Well, it's hidden mode. And you can see the outside of the building. When I zoom in, as it's re-rendering everything, went a little farther, you can see that there's ductwork There's pipe. There's all kinds of fun stuff. If I want to drag it, I can drag it. I can hold my mouse button down and I can move it around and it'll move, but it's not the best. Like I said, this is a huge project. And I don't want to do a small one because it would be too easy. I could have done one on one of the Autodesk sample projects, but I wanted to show you something big. And because most people are going to work on larger projects. So if I were to come down here and just say ground level waste, it's going to open that up too. And like I said, this is the top end Mac. This isn't like a MacBook Air or something. I could not imagine what it would be like. So as we zoom in, you can see that I can zoom in, I can move. You got that full 3D render view, really kills it. But once you get set up here, it's not actually reacting too badly. And unfortunately, I drew all this with fabrication objects. So I can come in here, I can open up my fabrication tools. And you can see them right here. I can expand it out. And if I want, I can route some pipe. Oops, well, that kind of sucks, but we'll go on an angle, why not? So you can see that it routes, it's very responsive, and it works out nicely wherever it's at. And this is a detailed view with annotation. And if I want to just run regular Revit pipe, just using the pipe command right here, it comes up. I can go here. Let's just go here and here. I can highlight everything. And then I can say design the fabrication. I can choose my system. And then I can say finish. And it draws all the cast iron pieces in there. That's evident right here. Well, that actually drew PVC, but I didn't have the settings properly marked. But I can go ahead and move things around and get things changed. So this is probably a preview of what you're looking to do. If you want to draw a wall, use the wall command. Use the wall command, WA. And I can draw walls. I want to place a door in the wall. I don't know the shortcut for door because I don't. Looks like I don't have one loaded in the model. But yeah, so you can do everything you want with this program. Well, it's on a plumbing background. Changing it over. So Windows on a Mac. It's possible. You can use the parallels thing. There's a couple things I really do like about the parallels is you have different modes. You can keep a window within a window. You can use coherence mode, which will actually change it so that you don't get the Windows screen right here. So it's switching to coherence, as you say, and now it's just a regular Windows thing. If I was to move around, you can see my Mac desktop. Just kind of cool. It takes up a bit more memory. It's probably a little easier, a little quicker to use it the other way. There's another thing you can do here, is you can come in here and, oops, I gotta come down here. And I can go down here and I can put it to sleep, which is what they call suspend. And what it does is it will suspend the Windows, and all of a sudden my Mac usage gets significantly reduced, and still showing that, but you're not using your extra resources as it goes by. And if you click on it, it comes right back up pretty quickly, fairly quickly. So let me go ahead and log out. You will get that video card thing. If you suspend and you have a model open and you come back, it's going to tell you to close. So I'm just going to close this project out. And it's done. Now, the way that I work is I use what they call the Autodesk Desktop Connector. Now, as you can see here, it says an upcoming update for a remote desktop, or not the Autodesk Desktop Connector. Oh, speaking of the Autodesk Desktop Connector, you cannot install the desktop connector on a Apple Silicon Mac. Just can't do it. The reason being is the Silicon Macs are ARM, and the Autodesk Desktop Connector is a x86. So you can only put it on Intel Macs. So that's one of the major drawbacks and one of the big reasons why I don't use it, aside from some of the lag. But like I said, I use it when I travel. But that's a very important point. Now, like I said, my preferred way that I like to work is using the Microsoft Remote Desktop. What it does is it allows me to remote into another PC. Yeah, I bought another PC. I went to Microdesk or Micro Center and I bought a $1,200 PC to run my Revit on and only run my Autodesk products. That's Revit and Navisworks and Bluebeam, which not Autodesk, but obviously. Speaking of Navisworks on the Mac isn't too bad. It's actually very reactive and stuff. It's not like Revit because you're not dealing with big things. But getting back to the remote desktop connector, the Windows app is what they're gonna call it. They're changing its name. Very creative, Microsoft. It's called the Windows app. So what it does is I'm allowed to use the same keyboard, same mouse, same everything. You can literally see where it says Microsoft Desktop, Remote Desktop right here. And I can go into my other computer. And if I go here, you can see it's set up a little differently. The backgrounds are black. I actually have the Autodesk Remote Desktop set up here. And I can access all my products that I choose on ACC. So we can see here, and I'm on a different computer now. So, and you can see I got all my apps and everything else here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to open Revit on this computer. I'm going to pause so you don't have to suffer through the time it takes to reload the same project. All right, here we are back. Now, I have Revit opened up on my remote PC, not my Windows PC. So, because you can go up here and you can see that it says Remote Desktop, not Revit. One of the cool things is I can come in here now and I can go to my little Windows icon here and you'll see just how much faster it processes everything. Now, my remote PC, it's significantly smaller PC. It's got 32 gigs of RAM and I don't know, it's like 2 gig memory. Like I said, I spent like $1,200 on it at Micro Center. So it doesn't need to be fancy, but because it's only Windows, you can see that it is chewing through this information pretty quickly. It allows me to move things around, unlike the parallels thing. I could move things in parallels, but it wasn't quite as efficient as this. And like I said, this is a 32 bits of RAM. So it's half of what I was churning out and allocated on my parallel side. Because there's no interpreter, having to interpret between Windows to Mac, it just runs. And if I go here to the ground level like we were just at, and you can just see that, I got a little bit of a spinning bubble, but I'm moving. So if you have a more powerful at-home Windows PC, you shouldn't have these issues. For years, I had worked on a 2012 Dell up until about July of 2023. It was a computer that my old company threw out, and I just brought it home, threw a new hard drive in it, beefed it up with some RAM, and I used it for years until finally the fans went out and the thing just went black on me. So that's when I bought this new PC that I'm running here in the background. So coming down here, yes, it's just typical stuff. If I want to draw a pipe, I can come in here and I can draw a pipe, and you can see it draws pipe just like it did on the Mac side. It's just a little quicker. It's not that much. If I want to come in here and use the design to fabrication button, I can go in here, change it to a storm line like I did before, and I can go in here and voila. And I still got the PVC fittings because I didn't exclude them from the routing. But who cares? And if I want to draw a wall, I can come in here and I can draw a wall. And it just works. And it works nicely. It allows you to do everything you can do. There's nothing you can't do with this computer. And the nice thing is I can go here, and then I can switch to my Mac desktop, and then on another screen, if you have multiple screens, you can have Windows on another screen. I typically have 3 screens. I have one screen dedicated to my Mac, so I can read my email, I get to use numbers, and other Mac apps that I like. I do all my video recording, Photoshop, and everything else on the Mac side. And I just use the Autodesk products plus Bluebeam on the Windows side. Sometimes I do a little light coding, but I like to code on my Mac so that I'm not cluttering up my production PC with additional stuff that I write that would slow down my Revit, because I want my Revit to run as quickly and as efficiently as possible. So, in closing, you can go one way or the other. You can flip back between these. I use the remote desktop connector. Not the remote desktop. I'm sorry. Keep calling it a connector. I use remote desktop when I'm in the office because of the speed, the efficiency, and everything else. It can be a bit of a pain in the ass to set up, but once you get it up and moving, it's pretty much flawless. You don't have too many issues, and you can just work quickly. I can literally, what I actually did was I set up a way for me to copy files to my downloads folder on my Mac. So I can print drawings on this when I'm not using Dropbox, and they'll show up, and I can put them in my downloads folder on my Mac, or I can choose a different folder, my documents folder, or whatever. I just didn't want to clutter that up. I try to keep work and a lot of other stuff separate. And I do use Dropbox. Dropbox is amazing. It allows you to save one thing on one PC, and it shows up within a second or two on the next. So I can attach it to an email and get it set up. I do like using the Apple, the Outlook for Mac, because it's a lot more streamlined. It's a lot like the newer versions, but it's a little bit more streamlined and easier to use, as opposed to regular Outlook. If you want to insert a screenshot or something, I can just drag it and drop it in, versus the Mac on a Windows computer, not the Outlook app on a Windows computer, where you have to literally go to another button in bed, select where you want to go. Everything is still drag and drop here. So I think the interface is much nicer. I do know that they are changing the interfaces on the new Windows computer. I think they call it New Look or whatever, but I just prefer everything on the Mac side to track and work, and just do a little bit as possible on the Windows side. So that's it. And have a great day, and I look forward to seeing you again.